Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a thrift flip that I personally have been really looking forward to. I went to the thrift store the other day and found this skirt. It is a LuLaRoe skirt actually, and it's made out of this stretchy material, so I'm going to be making some micro shorts with this. I have some leftover jersey knit from when I made my bloomer shorts, and if you want to check out that sewing vlog you can click right here. And I'm going to be using some of that white fabric to do a fold over waistband, and I think that's going to look super cute. Bonus points for me if there's enough fabric left to make a headband like this out of it. My next thrift flip is this super sparkly sequin skirt. It's like a wraparound tie skirt thing, but I think I got this from maybe a liquidation store or something years ago and I never wore it. The next summer came and now it is this summer. I still have not worn it and I just don't think that I will. I mean, it's beautiful, but honestly, I don't think that it's gonna cover what needs to be covered for me. I don't know, it just doesn't feel very practical. My plan for this one is to turn it into a sequin purse. I had the idea yesterday when this was lying on my bed next to this super awesome Coach purse that I got at a church yard sale, by the way. And it was like laying right next to it, and then I thought, hold on, is this enough fabric to make a very similar shape? It is. I thought about adding a zipper pocket in here, but I don't like to make things more difficult than what they need to be. And if I ever decide that I want to add a zipper pocket inside, if I care that much, I'll just seam rip it and add it in there later. It'll be fine. Those are the two thrift flips I'm gonna do today, and let's get to work. All right, so here's the fabric that I want to use to line this project. It's gorgeous. I just don't really think it matches my skin tone all that much, so I don't think I'll really be using it for something that I can wear, but I think it'll be great for this project. So I just straightened out my velvet fabric and created a little fold here because I think if we cut out that purse shape on the fold, it'll come out way more symmetrical than if I didn't do that. I'm just lining up the sequin fabric with the velvet because I just want to be able to tell how much room I have. I know that the sequin fabric is not going to be able to make the same exact size as this purse that I'm using as a reference. But I think if I cut it exactly, kind of bring it in a little bit, I think it'll work out fine. So I'm gonna move this, and I'm just trying to line this up with the center the best that I can. Okay, so I'm gonna go and see how that looks. Yeah, that looks great. That'll be perfect. It'll be a very small purse, but it'll be perfect. So now we have something that looks like this. So now we have two lining pieces, and I'm just gonna face those right sides together. Second one that I cut out ended up being a little bit bigger because I couldn't get the first one folded back perfectly, but that's okay. We're just gonna trim this up now that I have it lined up. And then I'm gonna pin this all the way around. All right, I've got this all pinned up and the fabric just keeps sliding around. So I'm just gonna go ahead and try to sew best as I can around here without going off the edge, and then trim off the excess, because I feel like if I keep trying to correct it right now, it's just gonna shrink down to basically nothing, and then I will have wasted a bunch of fabric. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a straight stitch along here and making sure to do a back stitch at the beginning and the ends, and then of course leaving this part open. So I'm gonna go ahead and head to the sewing machine and do that. All right, I'm gonna just clean up the edges of this, and I should probably watch a tutorial on how to sew velvet because I don't know, I always struggle with it because it does slide around so much. If anybody has any tips or has a good video link, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep rocking and rolling, baby. Okay, I've got my lining here, and then I'm just gonna trace this onto here. Like, I don't think I'll be able to really cut on the fold without it being a huge pain in my ass, so I'm just going to do it like this. Because then if I go like 1 and then 2, I could maybe use the rest of that for something in the future. I think I'll do that. And I'm gonna use my crappy scissors because I'm not gonna seam rip all of these for right now. I'm gonna use my cheaper scissors because I don't really care if these get messed up, but these, I love these. My boyfriend, this was the first Christmas gift he ever gave me, was this pair of fabric scissors, and that was 5 years ago now, and I love them so much. They're still very sharp, and I cherish them a lot. They mean a lot to me, so I take good care of these, and I don't take good care of these, but that's okay. But I'm gonna try to lift up the fabric a little bit as I cut so that I don't cut any of the strands of sequins. And I'm just gonna trace this. I am gonna make it a little bit bigger than the lining because I might need to take up some of the edges of the sequins so that I can sew across it without sewing on top of the sequin. Obviously, I just used my good scissors, but I was only cutting the fabric, not any sequins. And then what I'll do is I will actually grab my seam ripper because I don't think I'm gonna have to do as much work as I thought I was gonna have to do. And I'll just seam rip along where the marker is. And then this way I should be able to cut without cutting the sequins. Yeah, okay, perfect. So that created a little pocket of fabric for me to cut through without having to put my scissors through cutting sequins. Now I can cut this with my crappier scissors. Okay, this is this is proving to be a little bit more tedious than I thought, but it's okay. It's gonna be worth it. All right, so hopefully you can kind of start to see the vision here. I hope I didn't really screw this up, but time will tell. Time will tell if I screwed this up. I wonder if I should trace it on this side so it's easier. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and trace this side. And I have to do it wrong sides together so that I can see better and not have to fight the sequins as much. All right, so now I've got that, and I'm just gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna seam rip where the blue marker is, and then I'll start cutting it. Okay. So now we have 2 of these, and I think I'm gonna have to seam rip a little bit more so I can pull back these sequins. Okay, well, I just tore up that fabric, so we're gonna not do that. So I need to face them right sides together, and I'm gonna move these sequins over. I'm probably gonna have to stitch on top of the band from the trim so that it's tucked into the inside of the purse, but I don't know. I guess I'll just like say a quick prayer or something and hope I don't break a needle because I don't think I have another one. I really wish I had sewing clips for this because that would be ideal. I don't have sewing clips yet. I know that everyone is like, sewing clips are great, and I believe you. I just have not bought anything. Okay, so I just kind of am gonna shimmy these sequins down, and then I'm gonna do a straight stitch around, and I might have to do this in multiple sections so that I can keep maneuvering the sequins inside to try to avoid breaking my needle. And I'm just gonna go slow. That was scary, guys. That was so scary. Never done something like that before. Okay, some of these sequins got sewn back up into the hem, but it's not a big deal. Just kind of cut them out. Okay. Woo! That was scary, guys. Oh yeah, look how pretty that is already. I'm so excited. Hell yeah. Okay, let's fucking go. I'm so excited about this. Like, oh. This is so me. Okay, now let's work on the lining. Okay, I think I put the bag inside like this. The last time I sewed a purse was like 2 Christmases ago. So, oh, I think I have to do the straps first and then like tuck them in there and then stitch across. Okay, let's make the straps really quick. Okay, so I just measured the strap that was on the bag that I'm cloning kind of right now, and I'm gonna fold this strip of velvet in half. I'm kind of a little bit worried about the fact that this is stretchy. It is a 4-way stretch, so I was trying to cut it along the grain that wasn't stretchy, but the whole thing is stretchy. So hopefully it just doesn't stretch too much over time, or I'll just have to like not put a bunch of crap in this. I don't think like I will be putting a bunch of stuff in it because it's not like it's a tote. It's just, you know, a cutesy little bag. I feel like I could do a top stitch on this just to make it look, all right, fine, I'll do it. I'll do the top stitch and be professional. I am glad I decided to do a top stitch because it does look way more professional. This looks a lot better. So I'm gonna do that on the other side, and then I'll attach the strap to the lining. Now the only issue is that now this is kind of wavy. I don't really know what to do with that information, but it did get rid of some of the stretch because I did a straight stitch. We're just gonna keep going because I don't really know what to do. I guess the next thing would just be to stitch the straps onto the lining. And again, I'm trying to remember which way I did this. So, because I would think you attach it to the outside and then the bag's in here, and then when you turn it out, it'll kind of like pull it up. Okay, we're gonna try that. I think I remember that being the way to do it. Gotta make sure that it's not twisted up when I bring it to the other side. Okay, so now if I remember correctly, we're going to turn this inside out, shove the bag inside. I'm gonna shove the bag inside and then try to line up the side seams. I'm gonna kind of trim this velvet strap on this side because it's poking out too much. I can't see if it's lined up. And then I'll have to leave an opening somewhere in the top. I'll probably just leave it right here somewhere so that I can turn the bag inside out again, or right sides out, I guess. And I really hope that this is the way to do it, or else I'm gonna have to like have a crash out and then spend the rest of my afternoon seam ripping this bag. And I really don't want to do that, and I don't really have time to do that today because I have some other things that I need to get done. And you just want to be careful, make sure that you don't end up sewing your strap to the side. I don't know why I keep switching between like I'm just telling you what I'm doing and then like tutorial verbiage, but I don't know what to tell you about that. I gotta make sure to go slow because I don't want to break my needle, and there's more layers of fabric now, including the sequin fabric, so I really need to be careful. Let's cross our fingers that I did this the right way. And hope that I can turn this back. Hold on, there's lots of sequins to get. Oh, wait. Oh, wait, no. No, I was right. I was right. I was right. I was right. Okay. Let's go. Okay, and then we just chuck this lining in here and shabuya. Okay, well, we'll kind of have to do some top stitching to fix the sequin part. I probably should have left some of the pink fabric at the top because once I turned the band, or once I stitched the lining to the band, it kind of made it sit like that. But I'm glad that I got this part of it right. Guys, wait, I'm so happy. That's so cool. Okay, I think what I'll do is just try to do a top stitch and kind of pull the lining snug to the edge of the sequin part and do a top stitch, or maybe just leave it like that. And if I ever change my mind, I could add the sequins on top. So I think this will be harmless to just do the top stitching for now. Yay! Look at that! I'm so happy with that. I mean, him could be a little bit better, but that's okay. I don't hate it. Guys, wow. All right, so I did change into my sweatpants and took off the shorts that I was wearing because I'm gonna be cloning these. But the first thing that I'm gonna do is take a look at the skirt and figure out how I'm going to put this together. I definitely have enough room to make it in a similar way. However, I've been seeing some people online, they make their shorts where the front and back are already connected on one leg, and then they draw out the crotch part on the front side. I don't know. I kind of don't really want to mess with my method considering that I've never done that before and I don't want to waste any of this fabric. So I think what I'm going to do is rip off the waistband and seam rip the sides so then it'll be like I have flat fabric, and then I'll go from there. I separated the waistband, but I didn't end up seam ripping the sides just because I felt like that would make it a little bit more difficult to keep everything lined up. I was trying to think of a way to keep the original hem here so that I wouldn't have to hem the shorts again, but I don't really think there's a way for me to do that unless I kept the legs as one panel each, like I was saying earlier, but again, I just have never done that before, and I don't really want to mess with my method when I don't have much fabric left. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm going to pinch together the front crotch area. Actually, I think this is the back. You can tell it's the back because the curve is much more of a dramatic curve and it goes longer because it has to go around your butt into the center of the pant. And I'm not gonna give myself too much seam allowance because honestly, these shorts could be taken in a little bit. I just haven't done that yet, so I'm not too worried about that. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but on this side. And you want to make sure that wherever you're cloning your pants at, that it's along the stretch because it has to stretch around your leg, obviously. Okay, so this is how I had to maneuver mine across the fabric since I didn't really have that much, but I'm just gonna put an F here for front so I don't forget. But as you can see, well, I don't know if you can see, let me draw that in darker. Hopefully you can kind of see that this curve is way deeper than this one. And now I'm just going to cut these pieces out. The next little piece that I need to cut out is this part right here. It's just a little rectangle. I just noticed that this was in all of my spandex shorts, and one time I did try to make a pair of shorts without this piece and they didn't fit right. So we just need to make sure that we have like a kind of 2-inch by maybe 4 or 5-inch rectangle, and you only need one. Not very official, I know, but it's fine. The rest of this is really easy. I love making shorts and pants, like just simple ones, because it's really very, very simple to do. So the next thing that we do, and you can pin this if you want to. I rarely pin this because I don't know, I've just done it so many times that I don't really feel like I need to. But for the front and the back panels, so these are both of the front sides, you're gonna put them right sides together and then start from the crotch and go up towards the waistband, because it's okay if this doesn't line up later because we can always trim that. This part needs to line up. So you start from here and then sew up, and that's the front panel. It's the same thing for the back panel. You're going to start from here and then stitch up to the waistline. And then I am also going to be using a zigzag stitch. Since this is a stretchy fabric, we want to keep it stretchy, and using a zigzag stitch is going to help us do that. You are going to want to do a back stitch at the beginning and the ends, and I just learned this from another YouTuber. She said she never does back stitches with zigzags. She'll do the back and forth, like the interlocking stitch at the beginning, using a straight stitch, and then switch to a zigzag stitch to go across. And then at the end, repeat that. So switch from your zigzag stitch to a straight stitch and then do an interlocking stitch at the end. I just said the word stitch so many times. Let's go to the sewing machine and get this put together. Now that I've chained my threads to black, we're in business, and I am going to just sew the crotch together on both panels. And like I said, you're gonna wanna do a straight stitch to do the interlocking stitch at both the beginning and end. And when you switch from a straight stitch to a zigzag stitch, make sure to do it while your needle is up, otherwise it's gonna be bad news bears. So now you should have something that looks like this. And then we're just gonna repeat that on the other panel. And now I am just going to trim off the excess fabric where it didn't really line up. Now I have my front panel. So when you open it up, it looks like this, and my back panel. I'm gonna take this rectangular piece that we cut, and I'm going to line up my front panel. It doesn't really matter which panel you attach first, but I'm just gonna start with the front one since that's what I have in my hand already. And I am gonna pin this in place because I want it to be aligned to the center of the rectangle. And since I care about it being aligned in the center, I'm gonna start in the center so that it's locked in place. Okay, so now we've got something that looks like this. Don't mind how totally imperfect it is. Just ignore that. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to attach the back portion to this as well. And I'm gonna do it the same exact way. Now at this point, we have these two front and back panels. So if you hold it up, the crotch is now attached. And I'm just gonna line up this corner on both sides. So that's the bottom corner where the leg is. And I'm going to sew up the side, and that'll create the leg portion. So we'll do that on both sides, same way with the straight stitch at the beginning and ends, and then zigzag stitch throughout. Okay, so at this point, our shorts are pretty much done. We just have to add the waistband. So if you want to try them on, now's the time to do it. And if you're ever wondering how to tell the front from the back, when you hold it up at the waistband, you can kind of see that the bottom portion is like coming towards you, and that is the back portion, because remember we had to cut the crotch part longer. So I'm gonna try these on and make sure I don't need to take it in at all, and then we can start working on the waistband. All right, so I have this leftover jersey knit, and I'm gonna take my waist measurement, divide that in half. So my waist measurement is 36. I'm gonna divide that in half, we get 18, and then I'm gonna subtract about 2 inches. So that'll leave us with 16 inches, because I want to account for the stretch in the waistband. And I'm gonna make my waistband like 5.5 inches long. Okay, I know, super professional. So, fuck. I meant to make it twice as long, but it's okay. This will just be my waistband. I wanted it to be about this wide once I actually folded over the shorts. I mean, I guess that's fine, because if I did leave it like this, it would take up a lot of the shorts. So at this point, it's just gonna only be like this much of the shorts. That'll be okay. That'll work. We'll work with it. That's why we measure twice and cut once, but that's not what I did, and that's fine. We're moving on. I'm just gonna do a zigzag stitch on both sides, and then I'll turn it inside out. All right, of course, I switched my threads to white, and just same way that we've been sewing our stretchy fabric. All right, so now that I have this sewn together, I'm just going to kind of trim off the excess, and then I'm gonna fold it in half like that, so that now these seams are inside of the waistband. And then at this point, I'm going to pin it to the shorts. I need to do it inside, because we want this seam to be underneath the waistband since we're gonna be folding it over. So I'm gonna line up the side seams with the waistband. And then from here, I like to work in halves. So I'm going to then take the front seam and pin it to the waistband, because the waistband should be a little bit smaller than the waist of the shorts. So you're gonna have to bunch it up. And when you do it in sections, it just makes it easier to tell how much to gather, I guess. In this part, you don't really have to change your threads because it's gonna be hidden, so I think that it's fine. Okay, here are the shorts fresh off the sewing machine. I did not do the name of this type of short a disservice. They're micro, y'all. Got a little bit of cheek hanging out, not gonna lie. So make a note, if you're going to make these also, definitely more on the hem. When I was cutting these, remember I wanted to make them a little bit tighter than the shorts that I was cloning, because those shorts were a little bit too big, and I didn't think about, when I was cutting, I was just focused on getting it closer to the size that I wanted, and not thinking about what that meant for the length of the shorts. So I definitely wish that I had left a little bit of length and been able to do a hem, but thankfully with this type of fabric, it doesn't really fray, so it is just long enough to be a pair of shorts and not a pair of panties. The other thing that I do wish I did differently was make the waistband maybe twice the length that it is, because I just had envisioned a longer, more dramatic, really wide waistband. I do have a lot of this white fabric left, so I could redo the waistband, but I want to save it in case I want to use it for anything else, especially since this isn't really a mistake. It just isn't what I envisioned, and I'm kind of in that mindset with this of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and I'm just gonna leave it alone. I also do still have some of the fabric from the original skirt left over. It's not a lot, but if you have any ideas on how I could make this into a top, maybe in tandem with the white fabric that I used for the waistband, let me know in the comments. I'm not gonna make it today because I don't have any ideas, and I don't want to be in a rush or not even have some sort of ideation ready for this and then waste some fabric. So I'm just gonna hold on to this, and if you have any ideas, let me know. Before I show you guys the purse again, I just wanted to show you this headband that I made. I made it out of a portion of the waistband. It was the perfect width that I like for headbands, and then I just cut it down to be the circumference of one of my other headbands that fits, and then stitched it up, and now I have a headband. So if you need a more in-depth tutorial, let me know. I think that's kind of, I don't know, it seems a little self-explanatory to me, but if you need some extra help, let me know in the comments and I'll make a tutorial for you. And with that, we also have our sequin purse. Again, I know I already kind of showed you, but I just wanted to show you in better lighting, since my bedroom does have the best lighting, but my sewing machine and all of that is set up out in the living room. I'm so happy with this. 7-year-old me is screaming, crying, throwing up. I'm so happy. So happy. Again, the only thing I would do differently with this is maybe install some magnetic snaps, but I didn't have any, and the whole point of the thrift flip is to not really have to buy more supplies. So, okay, I know I'm rambling, but I'm really happy with this purse. All right, everyone, that is all for today's thrift flip video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, if it inspired you, if it gave you some ideas for your own thrift flip, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments what you want to see me make next. Bye!